And that was probably our first big initiative. And it got us like a lot of global attention because it was so bold. Ownership is very important. We felt like it gave a lot of control in the creative space, and we loved that story and how people were using blockchain technology. What is the future of fashion and the creative industry with AI? Everyone can be a designer, a photographer, you can create models. And for us, it's also about protecting that conversation. I think balancing innovation with heritage. We are at the pinnacle of Asia. It's a melting pot here, and it's our responsibility to make sure we are telling the stories here.
Take your front row seat at Rewire Fashion, where fashion meets technology and innovation takes center stage. I'm your host, Dr. Karen, and today we're going behind the scenes of the most experimental Vogue edition in the world, Vogue Singapore. From NFT covers and Metaverse spaces to AI-generated imagery and Heat-Reactive print, Vogue Singapore repeatedly pushed fashion media into uncharted territory. With me is Natasha Damodaran, publisher of Vogue Singapore, who's steering these bold initiatives. Welcome, Natasha. I'm so happy that you're here.
Oh, I'm excited.
Let's just start right into where the magic happens.
Sure.
The experiments and also the initiatives that Vogue Singapore has done in the past. I'm very excited to talk about that. And I want to go through it chronologically. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, that's what I researched. So I started with an initiative or an experiment, which is the NFT issue in 2021.
Yeah.
Is this the first one that is like a bold initiative, or was there a previous one before?
I think that must have been the first one. I think launching in the pandemic was the first bold initiative. If I have to be honest, it really set the tone as to what Vogue Singapore will be about, which is very innovation forward, using technology to tell stories as well as reach new audiences. And then the NFT issue was actually the first issue we published. This was around the time when the world was opening up again post-COVID, and all the Vogues came together under the theme of new beginnings, and we all were told how we would interpret new beginnings in our market. And for Singapore, it was venturing into NFTs and blockchain technology.
Yeah, I'm just curious to understand. I mean, there were 2 NFT covers, if I'm not mistaken. Like, how did you come up with this idea? And did you collaborate? Did you work with someone? Or how was it? Just tell me
definitely.
more.
It was definitely a team effort. The covers are very much dictated by the editor-in-chief and the editorial team. We really wanted to spotlight designers and artists who are building the metaverse, as well as looking and building digital fashion. So we created one print cover, which was a giant QR code on the cover, because I think, if you look back, QR codes were everything to us during COVID.
True, yeah.
And access to everything. So we wanted to document that time, and we had a QR code on the cover. But when you scan the QR code, it opens up a digital gallery where we had 2 digital NFT covers that were available for purchase on OpenSea, as well as additional NFTs we had created. Some were in collaboration with designers, fashion designers, some were with beauty artists, and these NFTs were then available as an entire set. So it was our first venture into blockchain technology. We hosted a lot of events around this to kind of spotlight this new emerging democratic way of working that we were noticing. And that was probably our first big initiative. And it got us like a lot of global attention because it was so bold and innovative.
Yeah, it was very bold, especially to print a QR code on the cover page. I mean, that's quite bold, right?
Yeah.
And what made you take the leap into Web3 before most media brands actually did it? I mean, because as we said, I mean, it's very bold, right?
Yeah, I think just ever since we launched we had launched maybe a year before this cover, and we had really grown our network in the digital space with different artists and collaborators, and we noticed this huge rising and interest in blockchain technology. It works really well for the creative industry because artists, whether you're a photographer, a model, or a designer who publishes an image, it works well because everyone can continue receiving further profits from that image
and
royalties, and ownership is very important. So we felt like it gave a lot of control in the creative space, and we loved that story and how people were using blockchain technology. So we noticed a lot of photographers using it, as well as models and designers, and we saw it moving into clothing. And for us, this entire very natural way of working with blockchain technology was very interesting. So we, being journalists, we in this space, it was important for us to talk about it.
Yeah, and especially at that time, right? It was a huge NFT boom. So people were, a lot of creatives and also existing artists, they start working with NFTs, with blockchain. I find it quite remarkable that you actually jumped on the train as well, not like to basically copy it or say, okay, we're trendy, but just to say, okay, this is a timestamp. This is what happened in 2021 and the following and the years after. So I find that quite remarkable. Yeah, it's really nice. How did the audience react? Like, let's say all the readers, the collectors, the brands as well. Did you have any backlashes or positive feedback? Or
I think it definitely caught some people off guard. Vogue is always known as the Bible of style and fashion. I think over the many years, it has not just been the Bible of style and fashion, but it has really grown and built culture as it evolves. So it's very important for us to, exactly as you said, document what is happening in that day and time, so that when you go back to that issue of Vogue, you get a very clear idea of what the world was like. So for us, it was I don't think we got any backlash. It was mostly only positive, fresh comments. I think everyone was very excited that Vogue was taking this approach and giving this whole new industry a voice and a platform and legitimizing their work. I think there was a lot of backlash with NFTs and digital designers who were claiming that, digital fashion is not fashion and digital designers are not designers. The tools they use are very different. And I think for Vogue to come into the picture and build that narrative and do the interviews and spotlight people who are leading this, it gave a lot of hope and legitimacy to everything that was being built.
100%. And it's a statement as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was important for us to do that. Now, since then, 5 years back to now, the NFT world is very different, you know, and I think with any movement, we learn how to evolve and what works and what doesn't work. But I think at the time it was important for us to document that. And I'm so glad we did, because it was a one-of-a-kind movement that came out of nowhere. And I think it's nice to see how blockchain technology has evolved since then. And, now it's used in many different ways in fashion than what we anticipated in the start. But the overall feedback we got was phenomenal. We were sold out of this issue. Oh, wow. It was used as a case study in many educational institutions as to how a business pivots when you have to during a world crisis. Yeah. We've also had a lot of interest from other Vogue's editors around the world as to how we went about putting these digital NFTs together, finding the artists. So I think it only evoked curiosity in everybody. And for us, from a marketing and PR point of view, was definitely establishing Vogue as, Vogue Singapore as one that is looking into the future of fashion.
Yeah, as a pioneer, as a front runner. I mean, it's amazing. It's really, I saw it, and at that time I was still living in Switzerland, and I saw Vogue Singapore. I was like, wow, that's remarkable. And it's so bold and so courageous to do that. I loved it. I really loved it. Yeah. The second cover I want to talk about is the AI generated cover, which I believe was in March 2023.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the AI cover, how this idea came up and what it was about, etc.?
Yeah, so I think AI has, it's like a little monster that's grown into a much bigger thing. And sometimes it's for the better and sometimes it's not, you know. And this was around 2023 where AI was being very much available to everyone to start using. And there was there still is, but there was a big conversation about what is the future of fashion and the creative industry with AI. Everyone can be a designer, a photographer, you can create models. And, for us, it's also about protecting that conversation. We wanted to join the narrative, or rather build a narrative and tell our readers what AI can actually do and build that conversation and curiosity around it. So with the AI cover, it was with our theme Roots, which was actually about looking back into our past and learning from it. And we thought the juxtaposition with doing something innovative would be very interesting. We worked with a designer, so a full human being,
which is important to
say.
Yes,
because you definitely need humans behind working this machine. So we worked with a designer who then worked with 2 other AI tools. We created the prompts for what we wanted the cover to be. We supplied him with images of Singapore's and Peranakan fashion. So we could kind of have an idea what the models would look like and what the styling would be. And through that, we went through a lot of back and forth to create 3 different covers. And from these 3 covers, once the image was created, it further had to be edited by our designer using Photoshop, Illustrator, to get the colors, etc. right. So I would say it was a collaboration between AI and human to create that cover. But the conversation was really about what is the future of AI in the industry. And we wanted to spark that with this bold cover. And, it really did get the conversation going on what would the future look like. And that's exactly what we wanted to stir up. It wasn't about us using AI models in any capacity. I think now the rules have become so different that, and it's great that we have to be a lot more transparent. And this is from Meta to Facebook. Everyone's, talking about if you are using AI images, you have to be a lot more clearer.
Correct.
And we dedicated an entire story 2 years back on this.
Again, very pioneering. Now other Vogue editions are actually doing similar things or using AI-generated models or pictures. We can talk about it later. But again, that was more than 2 years ago, right? Which is, if you think about it, this is... 2 years, especially in AI.
Yeah, exactly.
It's big.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. It feels like 10 years. But what I find beautiful in this initiative is that actually you used your roots as well. So it wasn't just about creating an AI cover, a standalone AI cover, but really connect to the heritage and to the roots, right, of the Singaporean roots, which I find beautiful because you basically showcase how you can use the old or the heritage, right, together with something new, something future-oriented. And I believe that's how also brands should work, especially luxury brands. There's a lot of old fashion houses, in a sense, heritage fashion houses that are a bit scared to tap into, the technology industry or to use technology because they feel like they lose their heritage or it's not compatible with heritage, which is not true. You basically showcased it.
Yeah,
right?
I think everyone has to evolve. And if you're not using AI, I think you will just be slower in the industry. I think everyone has to find a way to use these tools that are being, available to be more efficient. I don't think AI should... AI was a tool to make us more efficient. It's not supposed to replace the work we do. So I think it's really in our hands on how to responsibly use this.
Correct.
And I see a lot of the fashion maisons leaning towards technology. It might be in a more conservative manner, but I think it is important for them to protect their story and the heritage, which can so easily be replaced if they don't play it right. So I think it's really important for them to find the right technology. And, right now it might be for understanding their customers better, or it might be for tracking their clothes more easily through NFC chips, for example, or it might be used to produce exclusive content related to a collection. So I think technology is being used. It's just not being used in a very obvious manner. I think obviously people assume, maybe a campaign by a brand is created by AI. I don't think we will ever get there yet. I think some brands are experimenting with that and have executed it, and it's very obvious who these brands are. But I definitely see the bigger maisons playing it slowly, but I think they are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like the European, especially the European fashion houses and maisons, they're very risk averse, obviously, which I understand because there is a lot to lose, right? How do you balance innovation with the risk that you basically, you could basically lose your reputation, right? If you are maybe too bold or too crazy, how do you do that?
Yeah, we never want to alienate our readers who have grown up with Vogue. Vogue has such a diverse audience. You have your readers who've grown up with it for many years. The magazine's 120 years old. So I think some of them have a very different take on what Vogue means to them. We also have our younger consumers, which is Gen Z, who is growing up with a very digital version of Vogue.
Correct.
And it's very important for us to make sure no one feels alienated in this story. Technology and innovation is not always what people pick up Vogue Singapore for, but we do like to integrate that to enhance the storytelling, which is what we love to do, is tell stories that matter in an impactful and visual manner. And for us, it's about using technology not just for the sake of it to create something gimmicky or fun, but it needs to add value to the reader as well as to the final book. So as long as we're constantly asking ourselves that question, does this help the story? Does it elevate it? Or does it not? We don't have to put bells and whistles on everything. And it's really that editing eye that we're known for.
Yeah, and you don't have to use technology just for the sake of using technology and showing, we use technology, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, a lot of projects do. I'm not talking necessarily about heritage brands, but there are people or projects or brands that they just want to show we use technology. We're at the forefront.
Yeah.
But then you don't really understand, what's the connection between the product or the story and the technology? It doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, I believe people don't believe you, right? Or people don't trust you anymore. It's like, it looks very gimmicky, as you said, right? And that's not the right approach. I 100% agree with you on that, the next very interesting initiative is the Heat-Reactive print cover. Just half a year later, after the AI-generated cover, also in 2023. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, it was an issue that we wanted to try experimenting with to see how can we create this magazine more like a keepsake and add a layer of something which is more tactile, that is a bit of a surprise to our readers. So it was I'm forgetting the exact theme. I think it was like a hot issue or something like that. And we thought of playing with the idea that, when you put the cover under the sun, it gets the colors become a lot more vibrant and a lot more brighter. And we love that idea to see, when someone buys the magazine, and we want to make sure print is a keepsake. It's like an evergreen coffee table book, that there's a layer of playfulness that comes with it. So it was definitely one that the first one we experimented in terms of production of the book. Typically, all our other technology concepts are linked to a digital activation.
Okay.
So this was the first one where we, experimented in terms of the actual production of the paper and the treatment of it to see how we could make a print book as a keepsake and like a conversation starter.
And those ideas, do you come up with those ideas, or who is it? Is it your team?
No, I can't take full credit at all. It is definitely a team effort. We always have to be at the forefront of what is new, what is trending, who is doing what, and it's really a collective effort from everybody, from editorial to our management to being a publisher, that we have to make sure we have the right partners we're working with. And these relationships really help because some of these partners bring forward their new ideas that they want to share with Vogue and see if this is something we want to launch first. So it's very much a collaboration. I can't say it's one person.
Okay. And what does it say? I mean, we had like the NFT cover, we had the AI cover. Now we talked about the Heat-Reactive cover. What does that say about Vogue Singapore's philosophy? Does it basically say that future and tradition can coexist, or what do you want to tell the readers or the people out there?
Yeah, I think for us, it's always been about looking into the future of fashion through the lens of innovation. I think our readers are becoming a lot more savvy. They're becoming a lot more smarter. There's so much more content available. And for us, it's about, constantly telling our reader that Vogue is not only bringing you the best of fashion and style in Asian fashion, because, being in Vogue Singapore, that's very much our focus, but it's also where you are promised to be updated in content in whichever way you like. And for us, it's very important to make sure we are showing our reader how we are growing and taking them on that journey with us, so that they constantly understand what we're trying to do here. And also that they constantly receive all these amazing stories that they like to read, but they could hear it maybe through audio, through moving visuals in VR or AR or all these other formats. So depending on whichever way you like to consume your content, there is an option for you in this.
Which I love, by the way, because it also has kind of like an educational component, which I like. So even people that are not necessarily very interested in technology, or they don't read about the latest technology, I don't know, initiatives or whatever there is, you basically teach them what's out there, right, in a fun and playful way, and just also you basically showcase a use case, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you do, which is beautiful, because for many people, I believe technology is very abstract, right? And if they don't see a use case, it's very, very difficult to understand what, for example, blockchain is about, right?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
AI. I mean, AI is probably easier because everyone uses AI, but you basically show how AI can be used in the creative process, etc. So this I love. I really love it.
No, it's really why we also established the Vogue Foundation, which is Vogue Singapore's purpose-driven arm. And it's really about exactly what you said. It's about providing education and access to all these different technologies, as well as experts who are driving these technologies, so that young entrepreneurs and designers could use it in their business. So it's really why we established Vogue Foundation, and it has grown year on year, because we do see the synergy of, as we are building Vogue and we understand what the future of fashion might look like, that the rest of the creative economy also grows in a similar manner. So it's exactly what you said. It's for us, it's not just putting this technology into use cases and giving a easy barrier to entry for our readers to experiment and play with this technology. On the flip side, we are also, through the Vogue Foundation, very concretely working with entrepreneurs and designers to make sure they are growing at the same pace.
Okay, and speaking of the Vogue Foundation, what's the main purpose? Is the Next in Vogue initiative and the Innovation Prize part of the Vogue Foundation as well?
Yeah, so I would say Vogue Singapore is more than a magazine. It is a platform. We have the publication, which is in print and digital and on social media. We also have events, which is what you see with Next in Vogue, which is our landmark event. We also have a membership club, which helps to build our community and identify new talents. So that's via Club Vogue. And then we have the Vogue Foundation, which is a broader platform that provides education and monetary support. And we have two prizes under that, which is the Talent Prize and the Innovation Prize.
Okay.
So it is quite a few different initiatives we hold, and each of these touch points speak to a different audience to make sure they are all involved in the conversation around Vogue Singapore. So Next in Vogue, for example, is putting together everything we do at Vogue. It is spotlighting our editorial work through the conversations hosted by different editorial team members. We have the Talent Prize and Innovation Prize that we showcase during Next in Vogue, kind of giving all the attendees an idea of what the best innovative fashion brands are. And then we also have, the Vogue Gala, where proceeds of everything goes towards the Vogue Foundation.
And then you use the proceeds to
fund all our further.
Which is beautiful. I mean, we just had Next in Vogue, right? It was very successful. I attended it. It was very beautiful. The gala as well. Also the designers that you showcased, and obviously also the Innovation Prize, which I was lucky enough to be part of of the jury as well. And how do you pick and choose the talents? And I mean, on one side, the fashion brands, but on the other side, also those like startups, or maybe not startups, companies that are innovative. How do you source them? How do you find them?
So for the Innovation Prize, it's an open call that we actually put out for around 2 months for them to apply into. We have a bit of a criteria, such as, they need to be a Singapore-based or Singapore-owned company. They need to be in business for 3 years. And they also have to be solving a real-world problem. So in fashion, so that means it could be, whether finding sustainable materials, or it could be finding or working or building a company which is circular and there's no waste, or they are experimenting with new technology to make your fabrics carbon neutral, for example. So they need to be adding value to the fashion ecosystem. And we get a bunch of applications from around Southeast Asia. And from there, we narrow it down to 10 who go through a 2-day boot camp. During the boot camp, we have speakers and experts that guide them through this process. They share insider tips from their companies on what's working as a source of inspiration. And then from there, these 10 businesses are presented to a jury to further edit after that. And then there's a top 3.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I really admire that work as well, because Vogue Singapore again experiments before other editions, other Vogue editions as well. It's kind of like it feels like an internal mindset to me, and it's really, I mean, you're really pushing boundaries. And as you said, Vogue Singapore is not just like an issue, like it's not just a magazine, it's a platform, and you really support the whole ecosystem here, right? And which is beautiful on many different layers. It's basically a 360-degree support. That's how it feels like. I love that. And from your perspective, what or which technologies at the moment are at the forefront or are interesting to look at in connection with fashion? So not just like, let's say, AI and that's it, but something that is actually very valuable for fashion. What would you say?
Yeah, I think the ones I'm personally excited about is AI for searchability in fashion. And seeing how this could move into a styling opportunity. I think it's not new. I think there are some, like Google's already been working on it for a while. However, I think that editorial expertise is missing because it is machine generated.
Interesting.
So, it won't really take into account, or it may, depends on how it grows. But I think like when you are styled personally by a human, that it is a lot more emotions, like whether, the earrings you're wearing is, whether it's an heirloom or whether it's from a travel that you went on and collected it. There's a story behind it. Well, I think when AI might match you with certain, earrings or dresses, it is a bit more clinical in that approach. So, but I am excited to see how AI styling and searchability could help consumers make purchasing decisions. And I think that might change the order of influence as well. So definitely keeping my eye on that space. I also think with the whole secondhand and vintage, revolution that has started again, which is absolutely amazing, because I think earlier vintage and secondhand was always considered to be a bit of a taboo, it wasn't the first place you go to, and it's a movement that has really started from the consumers upwards. It's not something that the brands have been pushing to consumers. So, and we've seen just how authentically this has grown and how brands have had to adjust their marketing as well as their product line to this. And a lot of the brands are buying back their vintage stock to repackage how they are selling it to their consumers. Exactly.
Right?
So I think that this process is very interesting, and the technology used to control this will be very interesting as well. So I think those are the two places that I'm quite interested in.
Okay, yeah, let's see if we find companies and startups that are really like bringing these initiatives also forward. I mean, there are.
Yes, there are. Yeah,
but let's see. I mean, you mentioned Google. Google is doing it. Google is big, right? But there is also other companies that are smaller.
Yeah.
And maybe also a bit more closer to fashion as well, right?
Yeah.
And not so far away as Google is. Google is a search engine, and I feel like I feel very, very much. I mean, similar to what you said. They come from a search engine perspective and not so much from the fashion angle. And I'm curious to see if they manage to do that, you know. Maybe they have to collaborate with fashion people to actually get this fashion angle as well. But let's see. I'm really, really curious to see.
Exactly.
Because I feel like if you crack that, then they will make a lot of money if they crack. But like we've been talking about all the really interesting projects and initiatives that Vogue Singapore has done so far, and it feels like it's a prototype for the future of publishing. So that's how I feel about it. So who will decide in your team, maybe it's you, what to experiment with next and how?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a mixture of me and the editor-in-chief that guides what to do next in terms of these bigger innovative projects. We also have kind of our management team that overlooks the publishing house that we have to work very closely with because we do have other titles in the publishing house. So it's always good to see what has worked, what hasn't worked amongst us. So it's definitely, but on the Vogue team, it's definitely always the publisher and the editor-in-chief who are responsible for where the magazine is going and the areas we want Vogue Singapore to sit in.
And can you already share with us what's next? Or is it...
To be honest, we just finished Next in Vogue, which was so inspiring for us. It was our biggest edition so far, our third one. And we already have so many ideas from there because when you bring like 1,000+ people into a room together and for 2 days, there's a lot of interesting conversations that take place, and for us to also get a sense of what our readers are looking for. So I can't reveal too much right now, but you know, obviously next year is around the corner, and we're already working on our plans for that. And I'm excited to, you know, for you to see it as we reveal it next year.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that as well. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you get inspired, you get a lot of new ideas and inspirations, and then you have to digest them as well.
You want to do everything, but we can't. We have to be very selective and find the right moments for it.
I mean, we touched based on AI-generated models as well, right? And Natasha, like Vogue Singapore boldly used AI on the cover back in 2023. So you had really hands-on experience more than 2 years ago on AI visuals, and just recently, I believe Vogue US ran an advertisement for Guess. It was fully generated AI models, and they faced significant backlash from readers. In your view, why did the reaction for that become so intense? And what lessons does Vogue Singapore draw from it?
So I think like when we launched our cover 2 years ago, it was very much to start that conversation about where is AI going? What place does it have in the creative system? How are we going to use it? I mean, that was more of a statement to share that this is what is happening at the moment. Let's talk about it. Similar with, you know, our QR code cover. Like, are we going to do a QR code cover again? No. It was more just for that time. So the AI cover is in a similar vein, documenting what's happening around that time. And I think since then to now, we've all seen how AI is being used in image making. And I think we are getting better at spotting what is AI and what is not. Our brain is getting a bit more trained into that as well. And I think when an advertisement is run, which is AI generated, and isn't very clearly told to the readers, I think they obviously feel a sense of, we've been, taken for a ride, or we're not being very transparent, even though the advertiser was not Vogue. It was a fashion.
It was Guess.
Yeah,
right?
it was another fashion brand. It wasn't Vogue. But I think the reader trusts Vogue, and that conversation is, is made out of trust, where whatever's in your magazine, we believe in it. And it's cultivated over not just overnight, over many, many years. And I think advertisers need to be more aware that readers are demanding more in terms of transparency, and we have to adhere to that. Now, these rules and regulations are changing,
Yeah. And that's the thing.
If you use AI behind the scenes to edit a photo, but not to make the photo, do you still say it?
Exactly. Do you have to disclose it? Yes or
so
no?
it's going to take a bit more time. I don't think these regulations are completely in place yet, but I think as readers, we just have to constantly be very transparent. And this is it's a great example of what brands need to start looking into as well, because the journey for a brand doesn't end when you do the campaign. You distribute the campaign and your readers react to that as well. So I think it was an important conversation to be had. And I think a lot of brands must have changed their campaigns after that.
Yeah. And as you said, the regulations are not out there. It's not set in stones. AI is still something new, and usually regulations or regulators, they're always one step behind, at least, right? So it will probably take a few more months or years until we have kind of like a framework, and then each country is different. Maybe countries will collaborate with each other and have a standard. I don't know. We'll see. But what you correctly said is that the audience, they will dictate what what they expect, right? So if there is an AI generated model and you don't disclose it, you're not transparent about it, apparently, especially in the US, where there was a huge backlash, they expect that, because I believe they see it as if we're not fools, we can see, we have an eye for it, or our brain is trained, we can see it, we can detect it. And I believe it's a question about regulations, it's a question about transparency as well, labor as well. I believe that will be a huge topic, and beauty standards, right? Because the AI generated models, you can make them perfect, right? They have all the measurements, all the standards. And I believe that's also something that people are scared of.
Yes. And we've actually seen, and a lot of what we were talking about at Next in Vogue was actually around this, is that we've seen almost a pivot as AI is becoming so perfect.
Yeah.
There's a pivot to this imperfection that our readers and consumers are looking for. And this is in terms of, even from content making, we're not looking for the glossiest videos which are so perfectly sitting on this grid which looks beautiful. It's a lot more raw, it's a lot more unfiltered, and people are looking for a lot of authenticity, which you cannot manufacture through AI at all.
No,
it
that's
comes
very difficult.
through your tone of voice, your images, videos, the personalities. And when it comes to a brand, who are you working with, who are you collaborating with, is a way to show your authenticity. Who are you supporting? And that's what we see a pivot towards now. And I think it's really just as a reaction to the perfection AI is bringing. It's almost like a natural reaction where we're actually craving something a little more human now.
Yeah, a little bit more imperfect, right? Because we're not perfect. I mean, we're not symmetric. Our faces are not symmetric.
Yeah,
there's a lot of flaws, right? Yeah, and which makes us human, and which I believe makes us beautiful as well, right? It's interesting for our human eye. And if it's perfect, then it's just flawless. And to be honest, I don't even remember it because it's just like too perfect, it's just like, okay, because there's nothing imperfect, so to say, where my eye says, okay, that's interesting. I'm curious about that. And that's, or that nose, or that, lips, or whatever it is. Yeah. I found that quite interesting to see as well, and interesting to hear you saying that there is a pivot there. I mean, internally in Vogue, how do you handle questions around ethics and AI? Because obviously you're not the regulator, but you have a strong brand. You are a strong brand and a voice as well. Do you have like a committee or an internal team who takes care of all the questions around AI and ethics?
Oh, no. I mean, I can only speak for Singapore. We do not have that. We're a very small, lean team, very much just driven on passion for, sharing fashion stories. However, we are hyper aware of the use of AI. And when we do work with photographers or on a shoot, we do very transparently ask if AI is being used, and if it is, how much, and if yes, then we would have to mention it. However, as of now, we do avoid using AI as much as possible in any image making or stories. I think the backbone of the book is really editorial integrity, which is something we haven't compromised. And it's human-led stories touch the user, the reader, in a much more natural way than AI could ever. Yeah. And for us, it's just something we have to continue to champion if we want to continue telling real stories. So I would say between image making and the editorial work, where we do avoid using AI to support us in, putting the work together. And if we are collaborating with artists, it is all about transparency. But I wouldn't say there is a committee or anything like that is, checking in on this on an hourly basis.
We're not there yet. That's good. That's
not
good.
There yet.
Yeah. Do you think that, I'm just curious about that we will see like a photo shoot with AI models in the near future in Vogue Singapore? I mean, obviously transparently disclosed, or not?
I don't think so. I think we have experimented with that cover 2 years ago, and we kind of knew our pros and cons with it. And since then, we've never done that. We've never found the need to work with AI models. I think, I can't say no 100%. We don't know where we might be in 50 years, for example. But I just don't see why we would need to right now.
Okay, so would you repeat any of those past initiatives or not? Is it just like, okay, we made a statement and that's it?
I don't think we would repeat initiatives. With every issue of Vogue, we want to document a certain time. Once it's been documented, I wouldn't want to redo it a few months or years later, because it is inauthentic to that time. Yeah. So I wouldn't say we would redo any of this, but if we do, it would again have to be in a very evolved and different fashion, depending on how the technology is being used at that time. So if we do blockchain again, it may not be in terms of NFTs, but it might be towards maybe a clothing collection or a curated secondhand vintage curation that we've put together, for example.
I see. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to close, I have a couple of questions, like fireside chat kind of questions. Okay. One of the innovations that you'd refine next time, which would it be? Because you talked about it. Maybe it will be refined. So what would you say? Just one. Pick one.
We've done, from the NFT cover to the AI cover, we've done an NFC chip. We've done a Heat-Reactive cover, and a lot of stuff digitally. Like we've created a Metaverse space. I think I'm really, really proud of all those initiatives. I feel if there's any one we would have to tweak is probably the initiative we did in the Metaverse, where we created a Vogue space. I think when we launched it, it was very challenging, because what a 3-dimensional Vogue space looks like in the Metaverse which is open to everyone. You can't limit who accesses it. It's not like, even though it's by Vogue Singapore, anyone from around the world could come into the space.
Yeah, which
and
is cool.
Vogue is so different in each country. So for us, maybe that was the one initiative which we found very challenging. And I think if we do it again, we would have, maybe done it a bit differently.
Yeah.
But again, like I'm fine with the way it happened.
Yeah.
Like, since you ask. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A dream Vogue Singapore collaboration.
Oh gosh, I don't think I can say this out loud because. Yeah, I don't think I can say it, but I think any brand or any technology brand which is really pushing the future of storytelling is always a dream brand to work with, because they share the same mission as us. And I think when you have two collaborators who share the same passion, real magic can happen.
Yeah.
So I think any technology brand that has the tools to make storytelling more visual and more impactful is always an absolute dream to work with.
Yeah. And the last but not least, finish the sentence. In 2026, Vogue Singapore will be known for?
I think balancing innovation with heritage.
Beautiful.
Being in Asia, it is, and you must have seen even a Next in Vogue at a gala, Rituals and Radiance, and Year of the Reset, bringing in all these Asian designers. We are at the pinnacle of Asia. It's a melting pot here, and it's our responsibility to make sure we are telling the stories here. So we can't ignore our heritage. But I think we're also such a forward-looking country, and we cannot just rest in our past. We need to use that for the future. So I think managing the heritage and innovation is really what you can continue to see from Vogue Singapore.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Natasha,
so much
for being here. It was really interesting. Thank you so much.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, visionaries, for taking a front row seat in fashion's revolution. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow Rewire Fashion on social media for more conversations at the intersection of fashion, technology, and innovation. This is Rewire Fashion, and we're just getting started. Until next time, stay inspired and keep rewiring the future of fashion.